with Trocheck. Save, rebound, and score! And goal. And Makar breaks up that play, heads the other way. Then they score! Oh, come on! Takes a little more offense. Lee, and alone! Score! What? Didn't want to risk a block shot there. Pass to Brett, score!
Stop me once. You won't stop me again.
Who have now won 5 straight.
I'm getting stronger every day.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. It is great to be back, and always, we got a lot that we have to break down, and there is a lot of excitement going around the league. I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, who is definitely safe from Nikita Kucherov nearly killing me. So, I am joined, of course, by the man who is the host of the Final Buzzer. We actually had a Final Buzzer this week with Mr. John Filkowski.
Mark safe from Nikita Kucherov?
Yeah, he didn't almost
Nikita
break my legs.
Kucherov's supposed to be some sort of natural disaster now or something?
And of course,
where are we going with this?
Well, we'll talk about that more in the bar talk.
God.
And of course, the man who is seeing the script flipped it on Long Island, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
It was a first down, and before we really get into our show is about hockey, you have to excuse me for a second. I know it's not the holiday season, it's not Festivus, but I need to vent my grievances. That 4th and 1, Josh Allen, it was a first down. Filk and I have a friend. His name's Peter Jenner. His whole life, he's always been conspiracy theories and sports are fixed, and I always poo-poo that. But after that game, starting to believe that the fix is in for the Chiefs. It was a first down. Gene Statutory, rules analyst, said he got it. David Portnoy, video evidence, he got it. The referee that saw Allen's chest where he was holding the ball, he marked first down, but the ref that saw his back marks him short, and they go with that spot, and then they upheld it. That changed the game. It was 22-21. Correct me if I'm wrong for my viewers, that play that happened, I think
It was 22-21. You don't have to be corrected.
I think they were already at midfield. Reasonable to assume at the very least they kick a field goal. That's 25. They scored again. At the very least, it's the 32-32 game when Kansas City kicks that, what ended up being that game-winning field goal. So I'm livid about that. Oh, yeah, and then don't get me started on this. Like, I understand 50-50. It always goes to the receiver. But Worthy didn't even have 2 hands on the ball until he hit the ground. And that was only because Cole Bishop landed on him. And when he landed on him, that's when Worthy got his other hand there and grabbed the ball.
And welcome to Big Apple Football, where we talk about the causation and correlation of Taylor Swift helping the Chiefs get calls.
Yeah.
So, those are my grievances. Really pissed off. I thought the Bills were robbed, and that's my rant.
Well, again, I think instant replay could be fixed very easily by saying 90-second limit. Bang. There you go. Get rid of the obvious calls. That's all you have to do. However, Anthony, Worthy didn't catch that ball. That ball hit the ground. And that shouldn't have been a first down. Who knows? The Chiefs might have still scored on that play. But, I mean, now here we are. We have our 3rd team to make it 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And now we got to stare at Taylor Swift the entire time.
Oh, God.
On Super Bowl Sunday. Yay. It's awesome. Well, everybody, let's go to the A block and let's talk about the hottest team in the NHL right now. And, of course, the A block is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, $20 off your first order. Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. Click the link down below. But last week, the New York Rangers, 1-2. 2 very discouraging losses. We'll get to them in a minute. But the Islanders 3-0 last week. They're on a 5-game winning streak, 4 points behind wild card number 2, which is Tampa Bay. And at the same time, their counterparts in New York, Rangers dropped back-to-back games for the first time in 2025. 3 points behind Tampa Bay as well for the final playoff spot. There's going to be a lot of talk about the playoffs in a minute. But Anthony, going to start with you. Start with the Islanders, how well they're playing, and also which team is going to make the playoffs?
Oh, that's a loaded question. But I mean, as far as the Islanders, you kind of see it with teams. The Senators had their really hot stretch, and then they cooled off. The Red Wings had, they won a stretch, I think, where they were like 7-1. So teams always at some point get a spot in the season where the Rangers were doing that up to these 2 losses where they find their groove, right? You go on a hot streak and, it could carry you back into playoff contention. And, what a difference a week does. A week ago on our show, we're talking about how, looks like the Rangers are now, looks like they couldn't make the playoffs and maybe the Islanders were slipping away. And now the Islanders are right there lumped in with everybody else. So that's what, winning 8 out of 10 will do for you. And, for them, I think it's just a matter of, when you have players like Pelech, Duclair, Barzal who miss so much time, it takes a while to kind of get back into feeling good and the flow of your game and really catching up. And I think even though they've been back for a couple, a month or so now, maybe a little longer, I think sometimes it takes those guys to really get into a groove. And I think that's what you're seeing there. I mean, they're all starting to play better. All 3 of them, especially Barzal. Him and Horvat have been playing together for the last couple of games, and they're kind of, reestablishing their chemistry. The most important thing, as you're showing right here, is Ilya Sorokin is back to playing at the level that he's capable of. And, one thing that killed him really all year, you showed it before, Mark, before he went live, their penalty kill, as we all know, it has been horrid. And now during the stretch, they're actually killing off penalties. And, when you constantly are getting scored on the penalty kill, chances are you're going to lose games. It's going to cost you games. And right now they're doing the opposite, and that's helping them win some games by killing off penalties in big moments. But they found their game right now, and who knows what's going to happen. Listen, they could lose a couple of games in a row, and with how close East is right now, that can kind of take you out of it again. So there's still a lot of time, but right now they're on a good stretch, and who knows? You win, they win another 3 in a row. Who maybe now all of a sudden they're in a wild card spot, depending on what some of the teams above them do. So what they did right now is just they gave themselves a chance, and I think that's what every guy in that room wanted. Obviously, they want to make the playoffs. They clearly weren't happy with the way they're playing. Lee recognized that numerous times throughout the year. We haven't been playing that well, and we know we can be better. And they have been better. So we'll see what happens. And to your question, you asked at the start of this, well, which team will make the playoffs? Honestly, I can't answer that yet. There's just so much time still, and so many of these teams are so close together, like Detroit, Columbus, Ottawa, Tampa, Boston, Philly. It's depends on which team can play the most consistent hockey. I think it's going to be another one of those cases where maybe the wild card spots are decided on the last day of the season. And I think that's what might happen again. And kind of what Mario just said here too is, Islanders have some injuries. Dobson went out and he's week to week. Lou scooped up D'Angelo, and that's a veteran guy in the lineup. Shows that he didn't want to quit. And through the 2 games he's played, I thought he's looked good. And then Peruvinich too. I mean, he didn't get a chance in St. Louis, and last night he had an assist. He moved the puck well. He skated well, and maybe now that he's going to get an opportunity to play, he can establish himself as a guy that could play at the NHL level. So. Adding these 2 show that Lou didn't give up. He could have just thrown in Grant Hutton and, Samuel Bolduc from the AHL, but he didn't do that. He believes in this team, and the team going on the run that they have been, they're giving him reason to think, maybe I do add rather than subtract. So, but there's still a lot of time between now and the trade deadline. A lot of stuff can happen.
And going on to the other side of New York, Filk, I mean, you got the Rangers. Sunday, they battle against the Avalanche. Great game. But then they lose the game with 15 seconds remaining. I think it was 14.7. And just a tremendous mental mistake by 3 different players on the ice at least. And you look at them versus the Hurricanes, they're shut out and they're passing on breakaways. What the hell is going on in New York? And is this just a 2-game bump, or is this just, again, who they are?
I mean, it's really tough to say at this point because, I mean, like my little headline thing said, like, are we back? Or are we not back? Like, what's going on here? Like, let's pick a stance and let's run with it. I mean, this team, I don't know what they're doing because they're making a lot of the same mistakes now in these last 2 games that they've made over the past, I don't know, December, November, month and change that after they started with that 12-7-1 record or whatever it was at that point, a lot of the same mistakes that they were making at that point in time. And now it's like, you're looking at this team and you're waiting for somebody to step up. The core players that need to step up haven't stepped up. You were getting a lot of production from guys under the radar that really you didn't expect to get the production from. You were getting, from Will Cooley and Philip Hedl, and you're still not getting the production from Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad, and that's very alarming. I mean, Will Borgen has been decent for them since he's come over. He's kind of helped stabilize that second pairing a little bit. Igor Shesterkin found his game again, but at this point, I don't know what this team is, and I don't think they do either. I think they're in a bit of an identity crisis, and that's why I think that moves need to happen. I think that, I mean, you want to talk about the Borgen signing and whether or not you think that was a good signing. At this point, I get it, small sample size, but I mean, he's looked okay so far. I do think that they need to get more production from their core guys. They need to figure out what the hell is going on, and a spark needs to be made. And whether it's JT Miller getting traded to the Rangers, which everybody thinks is happening. I don't know if that's going to. I'm not going to say he's the savior, because I think it's the first in a line of culture changing moves. But you cannot have this team. Yes, this is it right here. Mm-hmm. You cannot have Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad having the worst years of their career and expect to make the playoffs. So as of right now, I don't know if this team is going to make the playoffs or not. I really don't. I mean, it depends on what moves are made before that trade deadline on March 7th. So we kind of have to look to the future to see, but they need to clean up a lot of things. And a lot of the mental mistakes that they're making, like Trocheck, like, I don't want to hear that you know that there was a guy behind you wanted to drop the puck to him. I don't want to hear that. Go take the backhand shot and go let the guy get a rebound.
I saw that comment.
It's stupid. It's dumb. It's a lot of these mistakes are easily avoidable mental mistakes that are coming from a group that looks completely unfocused and checked out. And that's why, you're saying, oh no, please no JT Miller. No, it's not that they're one piece away and then he puts them over the top. No one's saying that. I mean, I don't know how many times I need to say this, but it's the start of a culture change. And if you think JT Miller is any worse for this team than Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider and the lack of giving a shit on defense from guys like Artemi Panarin and Alexei Lafreniere, then I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. Because what's going on in this locker room right now is worse than JT Miller getting over Elias Pettersson for playing like he doesn't care after signing his deal. So whatever you want to say, whatever you want to say about Miller and his supposed problems, fine. But you know what? What we have going on here in New York is 10 times worse. They quit. He hasn't quit, JT Miller. He wants to win. This team, I don't know if they care. I don't know if they want to win, even with this recent resurgence.
Well, let's start with the Rangers because we're right on that right now. And it's beyond mind-boggling, that final play on Sunday, because Miller takes it deep. You have 30 seconds remaining. I understand they were still technically on the power play when he went deep, but you have to know the situation right there and protect the point. You know what team usually does that? The New York Islanders. They make sure that they go to overtime. They might lose in overtime, but they make sure they go to overtime. So first off, protect the point. That's for one thing. Will Borgen, again, know the situation. It's either you get it on net or you get it back down low to where Miller is, where he shouldn't have been, but he was right there anyway. So let's go with that one. Can't go laterally because Igor's banging the stick. When Igor starts banging the stick, that means Makar's coming out of the box. You have a fresh guy coming out of the box. You pass it across to a guy that is completely gassed in Artemi Panarin. Bang, back of the net because you got three fresh players going that way. And Artemi Panarin, I don't know if it's carelessness, Phil. He might have been gassed, but it was probably also a little bit of carelessness because we've all played hockey. Everybody can muster some strength to go all the way up for offense, even when you're tired. But when you can't do that for defense. It's just mindsets of people. Then you get smoked by Carolina, where the Rangers it's just one of those games. They didn't have it. All credit to Carolina.
Were close. They were really close up until the end of the second when that goal was scored. When that second goal was scored,
and it was a terrible goal.
Fire died. That was it.
An absolutely terrible goal. Igor fully commits to Rantanen, pass to the middle. It's an easy tap in. So you can blame everybody all around on that. Let's flip it over to the Islanders, who are cleaning up the problems that they had because it's Anthony. Oh, by the way, sorry, one more thing for the Rangers. Usual story, Filk. Minute in, puck's in your net. That's not gonna cut it.
Stop. It's gotta stop. The last two games that has happened, it has got to stop. You cannot have that.
Anthony Smith said this earlier, and right now the Islanders 94% in the league over the last 9 games on the penalty kill. That is tremendous. And like I always say, you keep the puck out of your net, chances are they're going to be winning. And after all, the number one team that's over them with a lot of these is the Washington Capitals. JE, we're going to talk about the fourth line in our Bar Talk segment, so don't worry. There's going to be more about them soon. But you look at what some of the things that the Islanders doing, they're addressed all the problems, even as they're losing players like Noah Dobson. And even when it seems like they're getting bounced from like contention, but then they just keep winning. You beat teams like the Avalanche. And what they've been doing is, well, it's been incredible so far. Can they keep it up? Because I think Waz got this ability like to give them a shot of adrenaline. But once that adrenaline wears out.
One thing I could say that I said this for both teams a couple of times now of why that maybe they could both still have a chance is that the rest of the field is just kind of that they're kind of even with. They're all meh themselves. I mean, look at the team. Does anyone believe in the Detroit Red Wings? I mean, I don't think the Detroit Red Wings at the end of the day are going to be over that playoff line. I don't think
Boston's that great.
You're like the Flyers. They're well coached. I mean, they're okay defensively, but I don't think it's going to be the Flyers either. The Canadians. I mean, Canadians, I would say, exceeded expectations so far. I thought maybe they would still be another year away from actually being in contention. But they're a team, again, that I think it will likely fall off. Like, I don't think it will be them either. So and one of Tampa Bay, Ottawa, or Boston are going to grab the third spot in the Atlantic. So that means one of them likely is going to at least be in that wild card. So, I mean, maybe what you're talking
9
Islanders, Rangers, Senators, and maybe assuming the Lightning take that third spot in the Atlantic. Islanders, Rangers, Senators, and Bruins fighting for that one spot. I mean, I think it's really I think it just actually, you know what, Columbus. Yeah, I mean, Columbus, but even them, they kind of rallied together in the face of that tragedy, and they're playing good. But Sean Monahan's going to be out a long time now, and that's a big void for them. Sean Monahan was playing fantastic, so that's a loss. So at the end of the day, it's really going to be which one of these mediocre teams can play the most consistent hockey leading up to the trade deadline and give their general manager a chance to make an addition. But right now, I think it's really anybody's spot. It's just who's gonna step up and who's gonna make a move to kind of separate themselves from the other teams, I should say.
And that's a great question, Anthony, because and I'm sorry I stepped on you for a second. It was nine teams are separated by 5 points for 3 playoff spots, and really the East is only the Atlantic Division is going to have that extra one that's going to be in the divisional slot of the playoffs. But it's whether or not you can make a run. And right now, Ilya Sorokin looks like he's back to being Ilya Sorokin. I don't think Igor Shesterkin has hit that hot streak yet. But the real thing is, you look at guys like Mika Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad has the yips. Sorry, he does. It's all in his head. It's all in his head. I have seen him pass up so many opportunities. The only good news is, like, take for instance last night. I thought he was getting his one-timer on net. I thought he was getting on good, but they were being stopped by Freddie Anderson. Now it's a matter of who is, just what you said, who is going to step up. And like I said, you look at these guys. Columbus, now without Monahan, where's that veteran leadership? Maybe Zach Werenski that could keep them going during times like this, because that's usually what doomed Utah or Arizona. When they started losing, they lost everything. Phil, I'll give you the final word on this.
So I see Jay flipping out the chat over there. It's not a shutout streak of 2 games. It's not really anything. It's 2 games. Like, Mark is talking about having an extended period of where he's Igor Shesterkin again. He hasn't had that. Sorry, but he has not had that. Literally,
Phil,
the
just to
games
say,
and stats tell you that he has not had that. I mean, if you think he's been great, good on you, but I don't think he hasn't been the Igor Shesterkin that he's needed to be. He still lets up soft goals here and there. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not true at all. And has he been better? Sure, he's been better. But if you think that he's a Vezina caliber goaltender right now, I don't know what to tell you, because he's not. So, I don't know what this team's going to do with this Ranger team. I mean, the Islanders look like they're battling, but this, 5-game win streak, like Anthony said, hot and cold, peaks and valleys. Eventually teams that go on these types of streaks eventually cool off. So I don't think that I don't know what's going to happen with the Islanders. I mean, I don't see them rattling, going and challenging the NHL's win streak or anything like that. Could they? I mean, I guess anything's possible, but I don't see that happening. And, if the Rangers, they're probably the most consistently inconsistent team that there is, because they sit there and they give you these efforts, to kind of suck you back in, and then they give you the garbage that they just gave you the last 2 games. So,
see, there's no shot the Rangers are selling if they're, like I said, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot.
They're not selling.
Chris Drury's not selling when they're 3 points out. It's just not. It's not happening. Same thing with the Islanders. The Islanders are not selling when they're 4 points out. They're just
nobody's arguing this. Nobody is arguing this. That deal should have never happened, and I'll stand by that. But they're not selling now with this little resurgence that they had.
The only way these 2 teams sell is, again, the deadline's still what, 5? Well, no, 6, like 5.5 weeks out. Roughly, right?
I think it's 5 weeks
so
out.
We're like 5 weeks away.
Yeah, the only way either of these teams are selling is if, like, a week before the deadline, they're maybe both 6+ points out. Then I could see it. But
I don't even see it then. I don't. I think the wheels would have to completely fall off for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what number is still realistic? I mean, can you be 6 points out of a playoff spot on March 6th and still have it? I mean, I guess you could still have a chance. Yeah,
six isn't insurmountable.
You're right.
If you're talking like 10. All right.
Yeah,
you might want to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the 3-point games make it a little bit tougher to get there. No, Borgen, I think they plan on at least retooling.
I think they re-signed Borgen because they want to justify the Capo Caco trade. I think that's part of it. But the fact that they gave him a raise, and I don't know what they saw that deserved a raise, like a raise of over $1 million and change. Like if you wanted to bump him just over $3 million, like, okay, I understand that at that point. You want to keep him, and they're going to do it because they're going to justify that Kako trade. But this small of a sample size, and you're committing that much to him to be a top 4 guy?
That was
really a top 4 guy in a championship team?
Well, Filk, you got to understand the cap's going up, so they got to pay more if the cap's going up.
So that's why we gave Igor Shesterkin that stupid freaking deal then. Okay, got it.
I want to address Borgen, but just this quick, and I hear Islander fans on my social media on here. I get it. You want to sell. Lou Lamoriello is not selling these 2 guys if they are 4 points or less out of a playoff spot. I agree with you all. But he's not doing it. Everyone's just wasting their oxygen telling him to sell. He's not going to do it.
And also, by the way, we're going to be covering this more in a minute.
He won't do it. And honestly, for the most, I would say the majority of NHL general managers aren't going to sell key pieces when their team are in playoff contention. They're not doing it. I mean, the Blue Jackets, granted, I know they were in a little bit of a different situation at the time, but the Blue Jackets didn't move, Panarin, even though they knew he was leaving. They knew he was leaving, and they did not move him. And that was 100%. They knew he wasn't staying. There was no shot of it. So teams don't move players when you feel like you could still make the playoffs. So, I'd be shocked if any of these players got traded when the Islanders are in contention.
I don't see it either. I don't. And I saw Joey's comment about how Nelson to Minnesota is like the worst kept secret in hockey.
Yeah,
with that.
Apparently Butchergross said that on the telecast last night, but so that's why he said that.
I don't see it. I don't. And no offense to Butchergross, because I do love John Butchergross, but where is he getting this from with an organization that's as tight-lipped as Lou? And if anyone knows Lou's history, once something gets leaked with Lou, kabosh, gone, goodbye, no more.
Lou is amazing in that he would put kibosh a deal just out of spite.
He would, yes.
He would totally do that.
He would, and he's done it before.
Yeah.
Like JT Miller was one of them, right?
I could look at Jeff Skinner.
That's another one too.
Anthony and I were there in Dallas when it was almost pretty much done that Jeff Skinner was going to the Islanders.
Yeah.
Then word got out all over the draft floor, and what happened? Done. He Thanos'd it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And the great part is with Lou, never really backfires on him on that either. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick message from DraftKings, and then we're going to get to bar talk because we got, like I said, a lot to cover around the league. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
Let me say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. You're so confident, you're buying around I'll have a beer. Oh, God, I need a shot. And there were lots of Ranger fans that were thinking that with 15 seconds remaining on Sunday afternoon. Play along down in the comments, everybody, and feel free to suggest a topic. Maybe we'll use one later. But let's stick with the New York Rangers to start. Filk, since the start of the new year, their fourth line, Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, Matt Rempe, 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 points combined, 3 game-winning goals, 2 of them from Adam Edstrom, and a plus 13 but just from all those guys. And, I mean, Edstrom's only a plus 2, so that should tell you how Rempe and Carrick are doing. The Edstrom, Carrick, Rempe line is the Rangers' best line right now.
Starting already. Just going to refer to this comment right here because I think you're going to know where I'm going with this.
Get the hoop.
Get the damn hoop, Mark.
Do you enjoy putting these that are so hilariously easy in there?
By design.
I really do, because
everybody by design.
Like I said, it gives us the opportunity to mention about the other lines.
Oh, God.
So go ahead, Filk.
What I mean, I don't know what else there is really to say. I mean, you kind of,
I'll go next.
Pointed all the stats out, and you were like, okay, like this is what they're doing. Blah, yada yada yada. I mean, the other lines have obviously been shit. Mika Zibanejad looks like, yeah, who's the hack? I mean, obviously, Anthony in that clip is talking about Mark, but
Wait, I got to cut you off. I'm surprised. Did anybody realize how Mark spelled Sam Carrick?
Yeah, he spelled Carrick wrong too.
Ah, damn it!
An A instead of an I.
It's ICK.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well.
Mom, can we have Sam Carrick? No, we have Sam Carrick at home.
All right. Well, there it is right there. There it is right there. So I can.
What else is there to say? Like, this is kind of like being the biggest fish in a small pond. Like, I mean, someone put in the chat before the king shit of Turd Mountain. I mean, yeah, they've been the best line lately, but it's a very, very low bar because Zibanejad's line has really not done anything as of late. They looked okay in like the first couple of games. And then Panarin's line has just been a joke because they, Jesus. Oh, man. Let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. Mika has sunk Cooley. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Zibanejad is literally like the bubonic plague right now. He's literally killing everyone he plays with. So I don't understand it anymore. Like, I don't know how this guy just continues to get, scot-free. I get he's been separated from Kreider. They broke up the bromance. Okay, fine. Like, a further message needs to be sent at this point. It really does. So the other lines suck. The fourth line is the only one that actually gives you productive shifts. There's your round, Mark. There's your hoop.
There it is. Anthony, quick word.
Yeah, it's a round. I'm surprised Sam Carrick has carried this good play now for a while now. He's been a solid fourth liner. I gotta give him his due. And then Rempe and Edstrom have looked good together. So the whole line is providing some energy to the team because Lord knows the other 3 lines aren't really doing anything. And Zibanejad, I don't know what he was doing last night behind the net when he left. Jarvis was just wide open all in front. Like
he was dreaming about DJing on a beach in Ibiza.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, what are you doing? And then
why don't you just leave? You don't care. Leave.
Yep. Filk, I'm with you there. He deserves every bit of criticism he's getting. And then I was about to get to this. I don't know what Artemi Panarin's doing. Like, Sean Avery had me cracking up when he talked about his video and his back check the other day. Like, the guy
tired of his shit too.
The guy does, and you referenced it. There's no accountability for him. There'll never be any accountability for Artemi Panarin because God forbid he's held accountable for mailing it in. And this is a guy that I don't know. I mean, he needs to understand that hockey's a 200-foot game. He can't just get by with his skill, and
Not going to win with these guys.
He's got to contribute in other areas, and he's just not.
Yeah, and again, I'll go round on this one too, guys, because it is obvious, and it's also, I mean, look at what Panarin's done to Will Cooley. Will Cooley, since January 1st, 2 goals, 1 assist, -3. Zibanejad's got 8 points. Hey, that's good. He's also a -3. There's this, and Filipino 7 points. He's a minus. So Kreider's sort of bringing down Filipino as well. There's got to be changes made. It's going to be uncomfortable, but and again, JE, this is 100%. Panarin playing hero hockey. They shouldn't have been on the ice at that point.
Yeah, I think they yelled at you, Mark, because you served another layup.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, because here's possibly another layup for everybody. Because the Islanders are 4 points behind. Probably. The Islanders are 4 points behind Tampa right now. Anthony, the Islanders fans, the Islanders being a deadline buyer, because I changed it, is their fans' worst nightmare?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority. I'm going to say beer because there's still a lot of fans that just want to see their team. They just want to see their team succeed in the moment. They don't necessarily think like, maybe it's the more hardcore fans that do this, but I feel like some casual fans, just want to see their team do well. They want to see them win. They want to see them go to the playoffs. So I think there's a faction of the fan base that, just can't bring themselves to root against their team. They want to see them win. They want to see them do well. They want to see them play. They want to see them play playoff hockey, which, let's face it, I mean, that's the best time of year. And there's a lot of fans that look to the future and see a team that needs a retool. So yeah, they want Lou, they want to sell, but so I'll say beer. And I see on both sides. Like, I do agree. I mean, I do think they need to retool. Like, yeah, trade Kyle Palmieri, and get whatever you can for him. If you happen to know Brock Nelson's going to leave, he's one of the better players available. Yeah, trade him. But, I also believe that teams, I feel like it's not like it was 10 years ago where the deadline is strictly buyers and sellers. It's also lately, in the last couple of years, it's morphed into also an opportunity for teams to, even if you're not going to make the playoffs, you make hockey trades. You make a trade that is going to help you now and in the future. So, regardless if the Islanders are 2 points out and they buy, or they're 8 points out and they sell, I think that's how some general managers look at it now. And I think Lou might do something similar. You could see him move Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri and then make another move where he maybe gets a player that helps him now too. So, but overall, I'm going to say beer, because I think you have people that want to see it, and then you have some people that want them to push forward and make the playoffs.
Filk, what do you think?
For the success of the franchise, if this team is buying, I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like this team is listen, and this is not a shot at just the Islanders, because I feel the same shit about the Rangers.
First round exit.
The first round exits.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they win more than one game, to be honest with you. I think these teams are both just not good. Maybe Sorokin could steal a second game. Maybe Igor Shesterkin could steal a second. Who knows? But neither of these teams are good. You're seeing what these teams are right now. So for me, I would have wanted both of these teams to sell and rebuild, but that's not going to happen, because both teams decided to have a resurgence and actually magically start caring, for whatever reason. I don't know why. It reminds me of the Giants. Oh, let's just win a game at the end of the year for culture reasons. Screw ourselves out of the #1 overall pick. That's awesome. That's great. These two teams screwed themselves out of a chance to get a talent like Michael Misa or James Higgins or someone like that. and talents that they could have used. Both teams could have used. So for me, I personally, I want to say round. I can't speak for an entire fan base, but I would say round just on my personal opinion of it if I put myself in the shoes of an Islanders fan. So
I'm not sure if it's a nightmare. I said this the other night that they probably get within like 3 points at the deadline, and then they decide maybe to buy when they had a chance to sell off, say, Palmieri and Nelson. But here's the thing. I think Brock Nelson's going to re-sign. I think Palmieri would re-sign. So I don't think it's that bad. And most of their stars are locked down long term. So I think I am going to go with Beer. I know there's going to be the fans that want this team to kind of retool, get younger, get faster, and then get guys like Danny Nelson and Cole Eiserman up. But they could probably wait on that a little bit. They're still a veteran team, and they haven't played their best hockey yet. And yes, Lou wouldn't sell during the stock market crash in 1929.
And to cut you off, not to cut you off, Mark, but the reason why really necessarily wouldn't be a nightmare, because like a nightmare would be trading their first round pick for a rental. First, Lou doesn't trade for rentals. Like Lou, so like the Islander fans don't have to worry that he would do something stupid like give up their top prospect and a first for a guy that's going to leave. If Lou was going to make a move, he would do it for a guy that had term or for a guy he knew 100% sure that he could sign, a.k.a. Bo Horvat. He traded for him. He knew he could sign him. He got the deal done. Lou's not going to bring in a rental, so Islander fans don't have to worry. He's not trading for a guy who's going to walk at the end of the year. He won't do it.
Yeah, 100% on that, Anthony. And I think that's something fans are kind of scared about right now. But at least, first off, you're right about that. And Chris Drury would trade the first round pick. That's for sure. He's traded the first round picks for a while with the Rangers. Didn't last year, though, when they had the best record in the league. Let's talk about a guy who isn't walking anywhere. He's staying put. The Capitals signing Logan Thompson to a 6-year deal, $5.85 million AAV on his extension. And he's really done well with. I had all the stats and then I deleted it because I forgot to leave it up. But Filk, Logan Thompson has established himself as a top-tier goaltender.
What are you basing this on?
Well, right now he is I have it right here. He's third in the league in wins, 929 save percentage. That is 927, I'm sorry, and a 205 goals against. I mean, those are all great numbers.
So you're basing that basically just on this season.
Just on this season, not from before.
I mean, he had a very good 2023 season in which he finished 8th in Calder voting. It was a 915 save percentage, 265 goals against.
If I recall correctly, Phil, he was an all-star that year and an injury ended his season.
He was an all-star that year. I want to say Beer just because I think there is a little bit of a body of work. I don't know if he maintains these numbers going forward. It is a little bit of a small sample size for me to say that he's like right up there near the top. I'll tell you this. I'd rather have him at that contract than Igor Shesterkin at 11.5 any day of the week. I don't care what anybody says. You can talk about Igor being elite and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, but you paid the guy to be Dominik Hasek, and he's not Dominik Hasek. Give me a guy that can give you above average goaltending, be consistent, and let me build up a good team in front of him.
Anthony?
Yeah, this is a Beer. Because he did have actually some success in Vegas where he looked good, and you would look at him and be like, oh, this guy's actually going to be a good goaltender. So I'm not going to say shot because he did look good in Vegas, and this year it looks like he's really having his coming out party. So top tier, I mean, again, I want to see him do it a little bit longer, like the rest of this year. see what he does next year before I put him in that upper echelon class. He's not there yet, but if he keeps up the play he's doing so far this year, then you would certainly have to consider it. So I'll go beer there.
I agree with all you guys on this. I really like him. I think he's having a great year. Let's everybody give him all the credit that he deserves. There's a log jam at the top. We're going to be here for a while, and we could, each one of us, have 5 different top 5 goaltenders in the NHL. So I got to go beer. If you want to say he's elite, you want to say top 5, who are you throwing out of there? You're not throwing out Hellebuck. You're not throwing out Jake Ottinger. There's a lot of those guys that are in there. And I mean, where's Sorokin, Shesterkin fit in? Does Vasilevsky still make it in there? I could go on with this for a while. Instead, all credit to Logan Thompson, because this is a guy that was kind of a forgotten man, I think, in Vegas, and that's why he requested the trade. And then, a matter of fact, Anthony, if you remember at the draft, Logan Thompson was supposed to be signing.
Yes, he was.
Things day 2 of the draft and have an appearance, and he was traded that day.
Yep.
So that was a little awkward, to say the least. Let's go to guys who being out of the lineup is going to really affect their teams. And we'll start with the Minnesota Wild. Kirill Kaprizov, out a month after surgery. He was removed from practice, and he's going to be dealing with an injury that's been nagging him since December, where last night the Dallas Stars are waiting with bated breath on Miro Heiskanen, who left last night's overtime win over Vegas with a lower body injury. Did you guys see the play?
Yeah.
What was Mark Stone doing? He lunged at the puck, and he made contact with his knee, and I mean, it's on the offensive blue line. So what's he doing? It's not like you're selling out.
All right, so people are going to say, "Oh, he got tripped by," and it's Vegas fans really that are saying this, that he got tripped by Rupe Hintz. I'm sorry, but that guy was already going down when that stick was in there, and he dove for a call. And you know what? You when you dive for a call like that, sometimes you suffer the consequences. And whether you get the embellishment call against you or something like this happens. And now someone got hurt because Mark Stone wanted to act like a little diva and try to get a call out of it. Sorry, but you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I've seen Mark Stone have guys draped on his back and score. I've seen him fight through checks ferociously. And that is going to take him down. It's like the same thing that people used to say years ago about Peter Forsberg and Sidney Crosby. 2 of the greatest you've ever seen on their edges. Guys that would regularly make plays and score goals with multiple guys hooking and holding them. Like this, no. And then other times they would go down like a sack of potatoes, and you'd have people who were calling Peter Forsberg instead of Fopa, which is like his Swedish nickname, they'd call him Floppa because he would flop for calls. And Crosby would be Crysby or Divesby, I've heard him referred to as. So you know what? Guys try to do this, and Mark Stone tried to, facilitate a call, and he hurt Miro Heiskanen. It's a scummy play. It's stupid. It's pointless. You weren't going to get the call that you were looking for, and then you hurt somebody else in there. It's a dirty play. Sorry.
Well, it's going to create an absence. And between those 2 players I just mentioned, Minnesota Wild's Kaprizov absence is more critical than the Stars' Heiskanen Anthony.
I mean, Heiskanen is invaluable to the Stars. He's a great puck moving defenseman, and losing those guys that played big minutes, could skate well, skate with top guys in the league, keep up, use a shutdown role. That's a big loss. Same time, Kirill Kaprizov is, he was kind of MVP candidate before he got injured and missed a little bit of time. So this is a tough one. I'm going to say beer. I mean, I think that the good thing for the Wild is that there's obviously the 4 Nations coming up. So ultimately, I don't think he's really going to miss too much time. So that certainly helps. Hopefully for Dallas, Heiskanen, whatever he has, it's short term, and he likely will only miss a little bit of time, which he also could result him to miss the Four Nations himself. But hopefully he's not hurt too bad or not hurt at all, and he can play. But it looked like he could end up missing some time. But I think this is a wash. I think they're both equally as important.
Filk, go right back to it.
I'm torn between Round and Beer. And the reason I say that is because Dallas has the depth overall to withstand the Heiskanen loss. I don't know if Minnesota has the depth to withstand Kaprizov's absence for a longer period of time. The caveat here is, as Anthony said, is that this injury couldn't have actually come at a better time for Minnesota because they have the Four Nations break coming up. So he may not miss an extended period of time. He maybe only miss a few games because of the break. So I'm actually going to say Round. I'm going to go Round because the fact that Kaprizov, I think, means more to Minnesota than Heiskanen means to Dallas. And I'm not saying that in like a sliding type of way to make any type of slight or shot at Miro Heiskanen, but Kaprizov is literally Minnesota's linchpin. Heiskanen is not Dallas's linchpin. Dallas has a bunch of guys that can really kind of, get the job done for them. You can kind of base the team around. Dallas is going to be okay. Minnesota, on the other hand, Kaprizov goes, everybody feels it because there's no one else in that lineup. And I like Matt Boldy, but Matt Boldy is not at that level yet. At to the point where he's going to become the offensive linchpin and he's going to step up and he's going to score well over a point per game and he's going to keep them afloat. It's not. Kaprizov is one of the, I would say, 10 best offensive talents in the game right now. Heiskanen might be one of the 10 best defensemen, but I think there's a difference between the two of them, and I think Kaprizov is here, and Heiskanen is probably about here.
The Wild are 7-5-1 without Kaprizov in the lineup this season, and the slam dunk answer is just to say Kaprizov, because as Anthony and I, and actually and you have talked about this all season, you could probably give Kaprizov the MVP just to how much he means to the Wild. That being said, so I'm going to go Beer on this, Filk, because I need to throw this right back to you for a second. How much of what Dallas does from the back end comes out of Heiskanen, though? If they're going to get trapped in their own end a little bit more now, that's a little bit more of a concern because Heiskanen is literally the backbone of their defense. So I don't know many times that they haven't had him. And as Jill from Two Girls, One Stanley Cup said, was he's the most dependable man in Dallas. So that could really affect things. How much does Heiskanen help them get out of the zone? How much is he the quarterback in the power play and so on? So, all right, let's move on, guys, to the dangerous play that was the inspiration for my quote. In the Lightning loss to the Detroit Red Wings, Nikita Kucherov tripped Michael Rasmussen right in front of the open net, and it was kind of dangerous. He really could have hurt himself. I know. I ran out of things to say. I started rambling, Jay. So, God. Nikita Kucherov is the dirtiest player in the NHL. Filk?
Beer. I mean, there are other players that still exist. I mean, Radko Gudas has a reputation. Jacob Trouba has a reputation. I mean, I don't know how we can say that he's like the dirtiest. He's one of them, I guess. I mean, Brad Marchand still exists. He still does things. Tom Wilson still exists. Sam Bennett literally goes around sucker punching people. I mean, I know a lot of fans would love Sam Bennett, But I don't. Yeah, I mean, people would say Rempe. A lot of people are going to say Rempe because of his suspensions. But I just don't think you could say this with conviction. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say beer.
Anthony.
Yeah, it's a beer. He's done a fair share of scummy things. He's a guy that, obviously everybody hates losing, but he has a temper. I feel like sometimes when they're losing, it's almost like he sulks like he's a baby and he decides he's going to go do something stupid. But as Filk mentioned, there's a bunch of other guys with reputations. I mean, you have Radko Gudas, although I feel like it's improved. I feel like he used to just be a straight up goon. I feel like over the last couple of years, he actually developed into like a tough, rugged defenseman that can actually play some decent minutes. But yeah, you have Tom Wilson, Cousins. He's done a couple of stuff that makes you raise your eyebrow. Marchand, I think, is more of a pest, but he's done dirty stuff. So I can't. There's a whole slew of guys. I can't definitively say Kucherov is the dirtiest.
Kucherov.
But he's certainly a guy that is no angel, though.
Yeah, I got to go beer on this too because you guys outlined a long list of guys that are in there. But literally, the NHL should have suspended him and thrown the book at him with this one. I don't know what the number of games you want to go with on this, guys. I would have been okay with at least 5 games. How do you do that to somebody? You look at the play. He's literally just putting the stick right underneath the skate so he can trip the guy up, potentially break his leg because he's cruising in. That's an easy goal for the Red Wings as far as like the call goes from the refs. But that's dangerous. That's almost as dangerous as, well, to bring up Miro Heiskanen, that hit that Matt Rampy gave him.
I need the clip of Chris Jericho saying you just made the list because like Kucherov just made your Ebola list. Because that's
definitely. And Phil, I got to write that down of getting the Chris Jericho. You just made the list on there. Because we need more of those.
That is literally Mark. You just made the list.
Well, I mean, you could also do that with Homer Simpson. All right, Akano, save. You just made the list. But I mean, that's just it's a ridiculous play.
Yes, you know who could be a little scummy too at times? Yevgeny Malkin.
Oh yeah,
can be.
Did we forget that guy jumped Henrik Zetterberg at the end of Game 2 of this 2009 Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah,
would have been suspended for that because by the rules at that time, jumping a player and getting thrown out, 1 game suspension, automatic. Didn't get thrown out. Nope. Didn't get suspended. Nope. Jumped Zetterberg, completely jumped him unprovoked. Yeah, Letang is another one that's dirty. Obviously, Crosby's had a reputation over the years of doing dirty things.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah. Not so much recently. I mean, obviously, Cody Ceci, who has been a defender of Crosby too, and he nearly lost the tip of his finger because of him.
No, that was not Cody Ceci. That was Mark Mathot.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's who I was thinking of. I went to the wrong Ottawa defenseman.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Vancouver, where Jim Rutherford made the statement that the Miller-Pettersson rift is impacting the Canucks' chemistry. There's an article about it on NHL.com and in The Athletic, as Filk has shared with us in our group chat. Filk, the Canucks will deal one of Miller or Pettersson before the Four Nations break.
Excuse me. I want to say round, but I'm not sure if that'll happen before the break. If anybody has The Athletic and read Thomas Drance's article today, Thomas Drance is the Canucks correspondent for The Athletic, and he's very good. Very good article today. One of the better articles I've seen on there in a while, if you ask me. But just an amazing piece of work where he kind of goes over everything. There's even some comparisons that you could draw to the Rangers in that article. but I really do think that it's going to get done. I don't know if it gets done before the Four Nations break, but watching JT Miller's interview, like he looked checked out. They asked him about it. He was like, no comment. No, nothing. Like, he's over it. He wants to get dealt. Rutherford wants to deal him. Rutherford is literally giving away leverage in interviews. Like, I've never seen a general manager do that before. And honestly, that, to me, that's the type of move that could get you fired.
Well, yeah. What he said is he said we're not gonna. He's like, may not get a center that's equal, and then he actually said may not even be a second line center. Like, the guy literally just said he may not even get a second line center back in return for one of these guys. That's just lunacy. Like, who says that? When I read that, I'm like, is this guy serious right now?
That's why, like, even though Drance wrote that article, I could see this happening before the break, because everyone is at a point where they're tired of this. Everyone. The front office, the general manager, the players themselves, the entire locker room, everyone is tired of this. So I could see it happening before then, but I mean, if it doesn't, I wouldn't be shocked either. So I'm going to say beer.
Anthony, what do you think?
You know what? The way I look at it is, I mean, maybe not necessarily, although I will say I do think Pettersson's getting traded too. I really do. I think both are going. But I think with Miller, you absolutely have to trade, just because apparently he's been a little more vocal and it came out that he wants to move on. So I think you really have to trade Miller more than Pettersson. So with that said, you're going to what happens if Miller goes and gets hurt in the Four Nations, and now you have an asset that you were going to trade that you just really can't anymore. So I think it would behoove them to trade Miller before the Four Nations. So I think that could very well happen. I think Pettersson's gone by the deadline. I really do. I think he's getting traded. Now the break is what, February 7th or 8th? The break for the Four Nations?
The 8th, yes.
The 8th. So that's what, like nine days away or so. If my math is right. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say, if it was just Miller, I think I'd say round, because Pettersson's in here. I'm going to say beer. But I do think that Miller has a good chance of going before the Four Nations. I really do.
I'm going to actually rebel against all this, guys. I'm going to go shot. And I think one reason why and this is just me, just hot take. So big surprise, hot take out of me. I think the reason why Rutherford said that is to be like, to try to turn the fan base, to make them go, these guys, we're not going to get anything for them if we trade them, even though they're both two stars that are both under contract. So it's just whatever trade it could be. Well, that's another thing we'll discuss in the
I think Miller's going to the Rangers. I just see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I don't know about the Islanders with Pettersson.
The rumors were there, but
I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not banking on it, but I wouldn't be surprised either.
Buyer beware on Pettersson. Buyer beware on Pettersson, though, because in 62 games last year before the deadline, he had 29 goals and 75 points. He was at a 99-point pace. In the 76 games, including the rest of that regular season after he signed that deal, the playoffs, and this season so far, he's got 51 points in 76 games. It's a 55-point pace. Like, I would have to believe that part of the issue is that Miller sees the drop-off, sees that he's got his deal, and now it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, we need more from you. It's not good.
But the other argument in that,
I agree, but I also think that maybe he's in a situation where just so much drama that it's affecting his play. I think if he goes to another place, I think you may see him fresh start. But he's too talented, right? He didn't just lose all his talent. I mean, you don't just at such a young age too.
Somebody brought up something good on my Twitter, on my timeline. I think it was last night, And they looked up the NHL edge stats for skating, and Pettersson's gotten slower since that 2023 season ended. According to the miles per hour and kilometers per hour on the skating stats. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Well, watching him, do you think that effort might be a problem, as if he's trying to play too hard and justify the contract right now? Sort of like the Carlos Beltran effect, if you will.
I don't know. He strikes me as a guy that doesn't.
Meek is also older.
Yeah, Meek is also a lot older, my man. Like Pettersson is 6 years younger than Zibanejad. Yeah. Drafted 6 years later.
And a deeper look into Mika's stats, Mika was a power play merchant.
Maybe that is the case. But I'll tell you right now, I look at him as a player that can't turn it up when the game gets a little more physical and more tightly checked. I just he doesn't seem to have that dog in him, as people would say. Miller has that, but I don't think Pettersson has that. And I think he'll be a great regular season asset to whoever gets him. But I just something is just off about Pettersson to me.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to move on from Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. Thanks for watching, everybody, where we discuss NHL topics and give our confidence based on our choice of drink. But let's go do a little discussion. As over the last week, teams were putting out their quarter-century teams. The Rangers and Islanders both released their quarter-century team. The New York Rangers, first team, not really many surprises. Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad,
you forgot
Kreider, Adam Fox.
You forgot the Ians of Zibanejad. Just said Ziban.
It might have been when I forgot the J because I accidentally had the typo.
Oh my God.
All right. So we'll try this one again. So Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Fox, McDonough, and Lundqvist for the top goaltender on the first team. No, it's not Shesterkin, everybody. Yager, Stepan, Zuccarello, Girardi, Stahl, and Shesterkin on the second team. For the Islanders,
he's not worth the E.
You know what? You know what? I stick by that one. He's not worth the E.
Attaboy, Mark.
And for the Islanders, Tavares, Nelson, Bailey, Leddy, Pelech, Sorokin. Second team, Barzell, Reed, Nelson.
You spelled Nielsen and Pollock wrong too.
Oh man!
This is what happens when we rush to get started.
Pollock with two L's.
Roger Nielsen, right there. There you go.
Oh God.
Oh boy. Okay, so at least I screwed up for both teams. Better?
You still spelled it wrong.
How the hell do I spell his name?
Nielsen.
Okay.
Oh man.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's go back to this, guys.
All right, this is the right way. Wicked. That's how you spell Franz Nielsen's name.
Thank you. There's actually a player that I like too. That's what's even worse.
Oh God.
Oh, so I put the E before the I. All right, my bad.
And you had O-N too. It's E. There you go.
Well, because I corrected it because I kept screwing it up.
Ah, there you go.
All right, so Anthony, we'll start with you. Any omissions that you kind of find glaring?
Can you put it up again, please?
Yeah, we'll go with the Islanders first.
I mean, we talked about this for a little bit in our group chat. I mean, Oposo was his own mission, but I mean, it's nothing that I'm gonna sit there and say is a huge omission. I mean, you look at Bailey. Yeah, Bailey was an Islander his whole career. Oposo left. I mean, I know Nielsen did too, but I just don't. Oposo obviously had a good career as an Islander. I believe his career high in points was with the Islanders. He won. He was part of that group that ended the 23-year drought with the playoffs, with getting past the first round. Aside from him, we talked a little bit about defense. I know you mentioned Adrian Aucoin, Roman Hamrlik, but Pelech and Polak had their kind of had their breakout.
That was me.
Their breakouts and the Barry Trotz, so I get why they're there. For a while there, they were viewed as one of the better shutdown pairs in the league. Nick Leddy was part of the trade with him and Boychuk on the same day. Leddy kind of stabilized their defense when he got there, so I get why he's there. And obviously Kenny Janssen was, he was an Islander captain. He was beloved. He was spent a lot of years there on a dreadful team, but was always representing the Islander crest well. So, I don't think there's anything wrong or glaring with this missing from this Islander group. Like I said, maybe you could put Oposo on there, but other than that, I mean, that's really about it. Wicked, Palffy didn't play for the Islanders past 1999's quarter century, so that was from 2000 on. Palffy got traded in, I think, like 90, 98 or not, around there. So that's why Palffy wasn't.
He would have been on the 90s squad for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I tried to argue this one. I tried to get Adrian Aucoin on there. 2 years, he was a top 10 Norris Trophy candidate. That's it. I think everybody else is bang on.
I mean, I get it, but you're gonna look back at this team and you're gonna say, when was this team the most successful in this last quarter century? And Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock were both a big part of that, as well as Nick Leddy. So that's why those guys are there. Kenny Janssen was an Islander captain, albeit not a good one, and for a very brief point of time, in a time where the club was in turmoil, if you will. I could have argued Hammerlick over Kenny Janssen there. That's the one thing that I would say on defense is I think Hammerlick was a more effective defenseman than Janssen at that time. I think Janssen after the Gary Roberts hit was not the same.
Yeah.
He was not the same after that.
And I can get on board with you there. I think the reason why they put Janssen and I got Hammerlick is the longevity. Janssen was an Islander for a lot longer than
but then again, look at it. Like, they were almost the same amount of time in that quarter century era.
There you go.
That's my qualm.
Yeah.
And that's why I argue for Adrian Aucoin, who had 1 year less than Kenny Janssen, whose career was done after 2004. And we're not killing him for the longevity. But again, I was at the game when Gary Roberts tried to put Kenny Janssen into the fourth row.
He literally just wanted to put his head through the glass. And
how
that's not up there in the ranks of the dirtiest hits ever. That's probably thanks to the Canadian media, but that's one of the dirtiest hits I've ever seen.
I think if there was which Joey said the same thing up here, curious if there was a third team. If there was, I think then those guys, like if there was a third team, I think you would have saw Poso. I think maybe you would have saw Boychuk.
I'd say Boychuk and Hammerlick would be mine.
So, third team, I think you might have seen some of those names.
Yeah. But going over to the Rangers, Filk, you got Panarin Zibanejad. I had to pronounce the E that's silent, sort of like his goals. Kreider, Fox, McDonough, Lundqvist, Yager, Stepan, Zuccarello, Girardi, Stahl, Shesterkin. I reacted to this, Filk, and said the disrespect to Rick Nash right here.
You could take maybe Zuccarello and replace him with Nash. Maybe that's what you do, because Nash was a better player at his peak. There were some highs and lows, but Nash won a gold medal with Team Canada in 2014. I'll never forget the start of that season and the hurdle game and how Brad Stewart basically knocked him out of that game, and he missed a bunch of time. He probably would have scored about 35 goals that year had he not missed, I think, 17 games that year it was. That's the one guy I would say. Yager, although he played
parts of only 4 seasons. He had 2 of the best seasons in Rangers history, including the best season in Rangers history. So you're going to put him on there even though he played only 4 years. I get Panarin being on there. Panarin had the second best season in Rangers history, the only other player to hit 120. Kreider almost broke the goals record, or almost tied the goals record. I mean, he tied Adam Graves for the second highest mark. Adam Fox is a given. Ryan McDonough is a given. Henrik Lundqvist is a given. Everybody else really is kind of a given. Oh, God. I think I know who you're talking about.
Mark, please use it.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Yager wanted to go back to the KHL. There was more involved in that, Johnny. More involved. No, Mario, you spelled McDonough wrong.
Yeah, no you.
That is a spelling of the name, but that's not Ryan's. So, I mean,
I think Nash is the only guy that maybe you could have made a case for somewhere.
Nash is the only one.
Yeah.
The only one. So,
can we end this remark? It was player spelling bee. Well,
oh my God. I think let's not kill Mark anymore. He's already taken a lot of abuse in this show. So, but we are going to introduce now our first ever version of this segment, Big Apple Hockey's Pick'ems. So I put together a few things, and you pick which one you like more. There's no wrong answer here. It's just for fun, just a fun little segment we tried to do. So here we go. First one, the better 62-win team, the 95-96 Red Wings or the 18-19 Tampa Bay Lightning. Anthony, what do you think?
I don't know if it's just because it reminds me of the good old days or nostalgia, but I'm going to go with the 95-96 Red Wings. I just remember that team just being a total wagon. Plus, they had a lot of good players on that team that I loved. Yzerman, Fedorov. I loved those two guys. Nicholas Lidstrom. I would say the Red Wings in that era were probably one of the more talented teams that we've seen in a long time. Not just that iteration of the Red Wings. They had some really good teams there in the mid to late 90s. Got a lot of Red Wings choices here, Filk, but that's not to discredit the Lightning. I mean, listen, they won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups, went to a third and lost, so they were building a dynasty there, but I got to give the nod here to the Wings.
So I get this. I totally get this because the Red Wings went to the conference finals and they lost to the eventual Stanley Cup champions, and Tampa just somehow got swept by an upstart Columbus team, and that team ended up being dismantled right after that. But I'm going to go the Red Wings as well. The reason why I made this one is because both teams followed like the same exact trajectory. They were both 62-win teams. They fell short of that Stanley Cup. And then they come back and they come back and they win back-to-back Stanley Cups the next 2 years. So it's an interesting comparison. I'm pretty sure I remember making it back then with some other people that I've been talking to, but it's a very, very interesting comparison to see these two teams like this. So, Mark, what about you? The 95-96 Red Wings or the 18-19 Lightning?
I would actually go with the 95-96 Red Wings. Let's start with the fact that there was no shootouts or overtime that goes to 3-on-3 at that era. It was still 5-on-5, and I think the Red Wings, they didn't lose much in overtime. I know they lost the Rangers in overtime that year, but the looking at these teams, the Red Wings they only lost because they ran into the buzzsaw called the Colorado Avalanche and Patrick Waugh, one of the greatest goalies at that time. That's the only reason why they probably lost. And the thing is, they needed to lose because then there were changes made. Paul Coffey was then shipped out for Brendan Shanahan, and Keith Primeau, for that matter, was shipped out. So I'd have to go with the Red Wings, but it was also the best thing for them.
Okay. I mean, it seems like the chat's overwhelming in favor of the 95-96 Red Wings. So we're going to go to a different area of hockey here. The better gold medal game for the U.S. The 2010 OT thriller, 7-6 against Canada, which included future Rangers like Derek Stepan, Chris Kreider, and Danny Cristo, or the 2025 USA win over Finland.
I guess I'll go first, and I'll go with, I think, the 2010 team. Because at the time, U.S. wasn't known as being a powerhouse. Now it's more of a well-oiled machine. So let's go. I'll go with 2010 was a little bit more impressive. And John Carlson kind of shocking the world with the golden goal.
Anthony?
I'm gonna go the 2025 just because, to be totally honest with you, I don't actually think I watched that game in 2010 or really like had vivid memories of it. So by default, I'm gonna go 2025. But you know, what was the year that Jordan Eberle had that goal for Canada? Was that
2009?
2009. I do remember that game. Oddly enough, but yeah, didn't really remember the 2010 one too often. So just because of that, I'd have to go with this year, 2025, with USA over Finland.
Okay, I mean, this is an interesting comment here from THG. Puts on the map as potentially knocking off Canada as the premier hockey nation in terms of development. I'm gonna go 2010, and I can put that game on a very, very. I could put that in my top 5 games I've watched ever. That was a super exciting game. Like, you did not know which way that game was going. And then John Carlson, like Mark said, shocking the world on what looked like it was going to be a pass across. And he looks off and then fires home the wrist. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful goal. That was a big, big win. Derek Stepan led that tournament in scoring with like 2 points per game. I mean, he was amazing in that tournament for the U.S. Jack Campbell, we all thought Jack Campbell was going to be an amazing goaltender. Yes. He ended up going in the first round that year. He was a gold medal winner for U.S. So a lot of talent on those teams, but very fun game. I suggest if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it because it's a great, great game. Going to a completely different area, not necessarily a game, but equipment. Better retro skate. The CCM Tax 652, which everyone in the 90s wore, or the Bauer Vapor 30, which everyone wore in the early to mid 2000s. Mark, I don't know if you have the images available.
I don't have them available right now, no.
Okay. I was kind of depending on that. Okay. Great. So if you want, look up the 2 skates. I thought we were going to have the images available, but the CCM Tax 652 just got remade.
Yes.
And it looks amazing. Everybody is drooling over the remake. You could even say the remake looks even better than the original. Honestly, I think they did some things to spruce it up and make it look very, very nice.
Yeah, new technology too, of course.
Yeah, obviously new technology. But yeah, I think Mark is trying to get them together. Yes. So this is, once we get rid of that part of it, get rid of the thing in front. Yeah, so that's the 652. The pricing on them is a little high, but I mean,
Pick'em, BAH before Pick'em or after Pick'em. But yeah, and then the other Bauer skate was the Bauer Vapor 30 from like the early 90s. Not the early 90s, the early to mid 2000s. So I think Mark is about to pull those up right now. Or for anybody who can remember these. Was the CCM Flying Skate Vancouver Canucks used as a jersey? No. That was not. I know what you're thinking of. Yeah. So it's this Bauer skate right here in the bigger picture. So for anyone who remembered those,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played NHL 06, but they were the Bauer customizable skate in NHL 06.
So for me, I didn't have either of them. I had the Bauer 15 was my first ice skate. But I the 30, obviously I saw a lot of that at Plaza Sports, and then the 40 took it over. So I sold a shit ton of them. But I can't speak from experience. I never wore them, but I did like my Bauer 15s. They were I loved them, so I could imagine how good the 30 felt. So by default, I guess I'll pick the Vapor 30 there.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you want to comment just as an aesthetically pleasing type of skate,
Yeah.
for anybody who hasn't, had them, you can comment in that regard too. Which one did you like better in terms of looking at them?
I did have the Bauer Supreme 170s, and a lot of the NHL guys wore the 190s, but I actually really like those skates. The 170s were one of my favorite skates I had.
Okay.
I think I was able to get to the Bauer Supremes. I wasn't able to get to the Vapors.
So the Vapor is more for a narrow foot. The Supremes are for a wider foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my fat foot needed the Vapor.
Use Bauer again in terms of ice skates, but we'll move on from that. I got a couple more. Bigger Ranger what if Sergei Zubov was never traded, or if Rick Middleton was never traded?
I got to go Zubov.
Me too.
He's a Hall of Famer. He was part of the number one power play with Brian Leach. I know Karpatsev tried to fill in for him, but Zubov was just beyond anything the Rangers could ask for back then.
I agree. Zubov.
I think this is closer than some would think, because what if Middleton is there to help the Rangers against the Islanders in the 80s? I'm not saying he alone would put them past the Islanders, but you have an offensive linchpin that's scoring about 100 points a year or so with Middleton. And you never know. I'm going to go Zubov just because I do think that they could have kept Zubov and Leach together, and the Rangers needed defense. It probably would have eliminated the need for Bruce Driver, which ended up not working out for the Rangers too well. But I will go with Zubov.
By the way, didn't exactly work out for the Penguins. He was good with them for one season. They ended up trading him for Kevin Hatcher. He's a Hall of Famer with the Dallas Stars. Wins the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. And the Penguins didn't really get anything out of it aside from a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals where they lost to Florida. All right, we got one more. Bigger Islander nemesis. Jaromir Jagr with 155 points in 112 games played against the Islanders, or Sidney Crosby with 136 points in 89 games played. Now, when you look at the games played numbers, Jagr only has 20. He has actually 19 more points in 23 more games played. So it's really about a point per game difference between the two of these. So just keep that in mind.
I mean, it's as an Islander fan, it's Crosby, just because I never hated Jaromir Jagr. Like, yeah, I like Jaromir Jagr. a lot of not just Islander fans, a lot of New York fans, Ranger fans hated Crosby too. So Islander fans, there was that hatred towards him just because in the beginning of his career he was known as a crybaby and a complainer. So and the fact that he used to own us made it worse. So yeah, I think this is Crosby for sure.
Oh, they beat each one of them in a playoff series.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Jágr on this one because he just terrorized the Islanders, and they were in their time where they weren't at their best. At least when you could also say the same thing about Crosby at times, but I don't know. I just feel like it's Jágr, and then Jágr terrorized them with the Rangers. So I got to go Jágr on this.
I get, and that's literally what Anthony said. It was what I was waiting for people to say. Crosby was the guy that was really the nemesis when the whole fight night stuff happened at Nassau Coliseum and everything like that, and Michael Haley and Rick DiPietro and Brent Johnson or all that stuff. Crosby was right in the middle of all that. And, and Lemieux said all this stuff about taking his ball and going home because of the way the Islanders played them and everything like that. And then the Tortorella comments, shortly after that about, Crosby and Malkin and the whiny superstars. I get why people would say Crosby. But Mark brings up a great point. He terrorized the Islanders with two different teams over probably just as long of a period of time. So for me personally, I'm going to go Crosby. I'm going to say Crosby just because he was the guy that everybody hated. But I am like this close from, you could get me on the wrong day and I would say Jágr. Just because Jágr, really kind of did it in for them with both the with the Rangers and the Penguins. So he played on two bitter rival teams, and you got a double dose of them. So
I don't know how other Islander fans feel, but I could tell you, I never hated Jágr, even though he killed the Islanders. I didn't have that hatred towards Jágr at all.
Yeah, but the bigger nemesis doesn't mean more hated necessarily. It's open ended. It's more like it could mean who did more damage. It could also mean who you hated more. Could mean who you dreaded playing against more. So that's why I just said nemesis. I didn't go into details because I wanted people to kind of look at it from other angles the way that you did. So,
all right.
That's done for our pick'ems, though.
Yeah, that's our first one for the pick'em. We're going to be expanding that out and doing a lot more other things with that. Anthony, do you have a blind ranking?
I'll see you boys later.
All right, later, Phil.
Oh, you're out? All right.
Yeah, I got to go. I'll see you boys later.
All right, yeah. What's Anthony, why don't we just do a quick Puckdoku and we'll call it a day.
I got a blind ranking for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So top 5 European best Rangers. So born outside the U.S. and Canada.
Okay, let's go.
All right, you ready? All right. Marcel Hossa.
I think you're gonna trick me, but you know what? I think I'm gonna put him at 4.
4? Okay. I mean, he was like,
he was all right.
Yeah, the lesser brother. So 4, you going?
Yeah.
All right. David saying 3. Okay, that's some interact. I like it. Next, dogs barking. Wojtek Walski.
He had a little bit of a spurt with the Rangers. A lot of people thought he was going to be a first liner when he came to, I want to say it was their 2013, 2014 season. It might have been 11, 12. I got to remember when Wojtek Walski was on there. Really didn't amount to much, but I will go with a 3 because I think you're going to give me a lot more bottom feeders.
Okay, you're going to 3. All right. Lori Korpikoski.
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
5. All right. Michael Grosek.
Wow. I gotta go by definition of 2.
2. Jarkko Immonen.
Number 1 by default, because Jarkko Immonen, I think he actually like had a little bit of a career. So
I basically just yeah. I scream at him, because they're bargaining nothing. There's no one there. They're just idiots. That's the best I can tell. That's the best I can describe it.
all right, let's get that Puckdoku up, that pyramid.
Mark, did you just get told that you can never watch hockey again? Because you seem very somber right now.
Oh no.
All right.
I'm just like
Everything's all right.
I'm a little bit out of it. This is 2 weeks just before Super Bowl. It's just always a lot that I have to think about. So all right, Anthony, here we go.
Wicked just saying, are you concerned that a guy like Peter Angelo pulled out of the 4 Nations? No, I'm not concerned about it. I think I just think some guys do realize it's not the Olympics, so it is a little different. Their main priority is still their NHL team to win a Stanley Cup. But I don't think it's a matter of them not taking it seriously. I think guys like McDavid are pumped to play on a best on best. I just think certain guys may, if they're a little banged up, they just might prioritize themselves wanting to be fresh down the stretch.
I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of players that usually would duck out of the All-Star game. They're barking at Jarkko. Guys that are usually they try to get out of the All-Star game to get 5 days off, Anthony. I get 2 weeks. So Pietrangelo, who's played a lot of international competition, and I think Steven kind of had a tweet about this, and we're going to save a lot of this conversation for next week. We bumped it for the quarter century teams, but I think, Anthony, there's going to be a lot that's going to be coming from that. For just some guys might not take it as seriously as say they would the Olympics.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Although I would like to see this and see how that goes. Anthony, all right, let's attack this right now. This is the pyramid. Right. Maybe we'll do a quick one because this one's going to be tough. 500 career penalty minutes.
That's not tough. That's like anybody.
Well, I'm looking at the top, and not like
Aaron, no, actually, how about Aaron Asham?
We're just gonna go Aaron Asham.
Well, actually, you know what? Aaron Asham played for the Canadians, so don't use
that one
there.
All right.
How about Claude Lapointe? No, yeah. Claude
Let me double check that and make sure. I do believe Claude Lapointe did play.
Claude Loisel.
Claude Loisel is a good one, but nobody's saying Claude Lapointe, who had 721 penalty minutes, and also was my friend Dana's tenant when he was in Long Island. So Claude Lapointe, and now we'll do Aaron Asham right here.
Yep.
Now played for all those two and the 500 penalty minutes. Montreal Canadiens, LA Kings.
Brian Smolinski. I know he played for the Bruins, Penguins, Kings, Canadians.
And he finished in Montreal.
Matter of 500. He wasn't obviously he was an offensive player.
600 penalty minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like he played long enough that he just would have accumulated that by default.
So Brian Smolinski, there we go. Now we got that qualifies for all those and a Stanley Cup.
Oof. So Kings, Canadians, 500 penalty minutes, and won a Stanley Cup. You know who comes to mind, but we may have to use him for the next one for the Ducks, but Matthew Schneider,
Okay.
Check it.
Let me just check to see whether or not this guy's got 500 penalty minutes, but I think he's going to be high up there.
Who?
Larry Robinson.
He played for the Ducks?
No, that's why you wouldn't use him on the next one.
Oh. Ooh, 80.
Wow.
Okay,
so this would be
that one, huh?
Yeah, then this one would be Matthew Schneider. And now you have to have all those, and that put him up for another 90. And that put him up.
Yeah, Yarko Imanen.
Yeah. Anthony, do you even know who played in the ECHL?
Hold on. So if it's someone that played the ECHL, not that it means he was bad, but he must have not have been a top player. So let me think here. Ducks and a Stanley Cup winner. Trying to think like goons. Did Stu
George Parros?
What about Stu Grimson?
I don't think Grimson won a cup. He did not.
I was just more along the lines of thinking of Ducks and
yeah, I think the only one is George Parros. I'm looking for his other stuff.
How'd you come up with
yeah,
George
he was
Parros?
with the Reading Royals in the ECHL.
You just thought of George Parros? Did you look it up?
Actually, I thought of George Parros because you said Goons.
All right. Yeah,
And
I mean,
know he played for the Canadians.
Go George Parros. That's a
I
good
think
one.
that's your only answer. All right.
That uniqueness is ugly, Mark.
Well, you had no choice with Parros.
Yeah.
You had no choice with Schneider. It could only have been better if we would have said Terry Harper, Dick Duff, Dick Egblom, Bob Murdoch, or George Parros.
I mean, the only person I heard of on there was Engblom.
And
but
that's
I would have never thought of him though.
Yeah. And that's really only because of Brian Engblom.
Yeah.
So there we go on that, Anthony. So all right, let's do a really quick classic. Let's just do very fast. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a disgusting man.
Actually, you know what? You know what, Anthony? I think no. Anthony, let's get out. So I will
You're
it's time to sign
a
out.
stroke.
No, let's just sign out. All right. Yeah. I got things. All right. Well, guys, cutting short on time because I don't want 2-hour shows. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Anthony, what do you think about this week?
That 175 uniqueness is killing me. In terms of
well, you got one more week up until the Four Nations break.
You're getting a plea here.
And so you got a week before the Four Nations. You got all these teams in this logjam. I'm also wondering, Anthony, how this is going to really affect the trade deadline with so many teams that have a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you know what? The break for the Four Nations tournament, I think that's gonna. I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of activity because I think actually someone in the comments early in the show asked it. We didn't highlight it, but there's no roster freeze. There's no roster freeze during the Four Nations. So I think the break at the Four Nations is gonna spur a lot of conversations between general managers. I think they're going to be talking. They're going to have conversations. You know, some of those could relate to something that happens right at the moment, or some of those combos can, lead to eventual trade at the deadline. But I do think this is a unique time that is going to create a lot of foundation work for potential trades. And, who knows that the the break, the Four Nations break, like prior to the break, it could be like not necessarily a mini trade deadline, but you might see some moves before the break just out of, maybe by the break you find out where you're gonna, where you're at, and afterwards you make a trade. So when you come out of the break, that player is already there and familiar with the city that he's in. So I think it's a unique time that you could see a decent amount of action in terms of trade talk.
I would just imagine the PR disaster if you traded JT Miller during that or something like that.
Well, I don't think it would be during. I think if he were to get traded, I think it's going to be before the actual break. So in the next 8 days or so, whatever it is. Because again, with JT Miller, as I referenced before, Pettersson, I think, is going to get traded, but I think Miller's the guy that they kind of have to trade. So I think, for them, what if you don't trade him and he gets, because remember, this is not like an all-star game where, there's no defense, no hitting. It's a legit hockey game where players are going to be going all out. So what happens if Miller gets hurt?
Anthony, I've said it to you before. I'll say it again. I think Mika Zibanejad needs the Four Nations something bad. He is at an all-time low with his confidence. So throw him in a team situation completely far away from the New York Rangers. He maybe deposits a goal or two, comes back, and maybe that's something. But here's Wicked's comment or question.
Well, on most trade boards, Brock Nelson is number one in terms of straight rentals. So you have his name out there. Brock Besser's name is out there. Another Canuck. You have guys like, not a sexy name, but Ryan Donato in Chicago is having a good year. He might get moved. Guys looking for scoring depth. Yanni Gourde. If Seattle looks like they're going to drop out, they may trade him. Not a trade, but Brandon Saad is going on unconditional waivers tomorrow for the purposes of a contract termination. So he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. And yeah, no one wanted him at his $4.5 million, but Brandon Saad, Mark, for, Brent, you're right. Brandon Saad for, 900,000 or $1 million prorated for the rest of the year, he might have a lot of suitors. So he's a guy that, could sign, like I said, he's got to clear unconditional waivers tomorrow. It's Thursday. So who knows, maybe by Monday he has a home and he signs somewhere. So there are guys out there. It's just that Pettersson and Miller are dominating the field right now in terms of, the top dogs. And you know what? In terms of Pettersson and Miller, I know we're New York, we're New York based. We cover the New York teams. Obviously, we do the whole league, but our specialty is New York. I truly do believe that Miller's going to end up on the Rangers and Pettersson's going to end up on the Islanders. I have that vibe to it. Stefan Rosner from covers the Islanders for the Hockey News. He said, per many league sources, the Islanders are interested in Pettersson. Dan Rosen, friend of the show, he had a video spot that, he talked about the Islanders' interest in Pettersson on some, radio show, I think based out of Vancouver. Bo Horvat, has that connection with him. He would like to be reunited with him. So Lou has a history of dealing with Vancouver. I don't know. I get that vibe. I think both players are going to end up in New York. Could be wrong, but that's just like kind of the gut that I feel right now.
I think there's mystery teams that we don't know about yet and teams that haven't gotten desperate enough yet. And I do think the Rangers might be a team that might get desperate, but as Ranger Central saying he could also see Buffalo or Colorado getting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's right. I mean, there are other teams that have good deep prospects pools and good young players. The thing for the Islanders is they have Noah Dobson, and how many teams have a 24-year-old 70-point defenseman that they could tee up for Elias Pettersson in a trade? Bowen Byram in Buffalo, he's good, but he's not the level of offensive producer Noah Dobson is. So it, he honestly he can go to some of these other teams. Listen, I'll probably end up being wrong, but it's just a kind of like a weird feeling I had over the last couple of days with some of the talk regarding Elias Pettersson. But we'll see. As far as JT Miller goes, I mean I think he's a lock for the Rangers. I do, unless New Jersey, who've been said not really in on Miller, unless they change their tune. Where else is JT Miller going to go? I mean, where is he?
But again, I think he's trying to say and force the trade there. I don't think he's getting really. I mean,
the thing is,
Miller won't do a behind the back pass to Chris Kreider in the crease, which would be ridiculous. So that's one thing.
Elliot Friedman said that he heard the deal was Hedl, a first round pick, and a prospect.
Again, that's good. It's just I don't like that contract looming over the New York Rangers. And,
I get it. He's going to be 32, making $8 million a year. But for the Rangers, I mean, Hedl's a lot younger, yes, but Hedl's also one hit away from possibly never playing again. So I could see why the Rangers would like to make that move. On the flip side, I could see that as being a reason why Vancouver didn't do the deal. Yeah, you want to get rid of JT Miller, but what happens if the main piece of that deal is Filip Hedl, and then he gets his bell rung and he doesn't play again, and now you're left with what? A first round pick and a prospect that's likely not going to be Othman or Perreault. So, for the Canucks at that point, is it worth it? And then Jay's saying here, Drury wants retention. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Vancouver's not going to retain salary on a guy that has five years left.
But let me get a couple more questions in, because I don't want to get too much off a tangent. Because Mario did ask this right now. Would you agree that it's almost like a year that anybody could beat anybody? Because you get this, I do think the Capitals are the juggernaut in the East, but also I can't help but look at New Jersey and think that they're kind of looking vulnerable right now, which would answer one of the other questions. Do you think they're going to fall off without Markstrom? My short answer on that is yes, but fortunately for them, they got the Four Nations tournament that's going to break that up.
I think anybody could beat anybody.
Because I know Carolina's still suspect in goal, Anthony.
I know the field of teams trying to get into the playoffs are close, like the Rangers, Islanders, Red Wings, Canadians. But at the same time, no, I don't think any of those teams are beating Washington. You mentioned Carolina. I mean, you just saw what Carolina did to the Rangers the other night.
You also saw what they did to the Islanders the other night.
Yeah, the Islanders beat them, but no, I think a 7-game playoff series. No, I think Carolina would dispatch the Rangers, Islanders, Red Wings, Senators, Flyers. I think they would handle all those teams within, 5 games, maybe 6 games, depending on which one of those teams there is.
Jay is asking, what's the bigger injury, Markstrom or Hischier?
I think Markstrom for sure. I mean, last year you saw goaltending was the devil's bugaboo, and they got Markstrom. He stabilized them in net. Him being out is a concern. I mean, Jake Allen's not bad. Is he going to be good enough to hold down the fort? I don't know, but I think Markstrom's the bigger loss. I normally agree with a lot of stuff he says. Caps are a paper tiger. I mean, I get why you kind of say that, because they were expected to be not really good and they came out of nowhere. But they're the best team in the league. I mean, I don't know. They got really good goaltending. I mean, Lindgren, Logan Thompson, that's a solid goaltending duo. They score a lot of goals, and unlike last year, where they were negative mark, crazy negative goal differential.
Yeah,
they're a good defensive team.
But you do got to wonder, Anthony, the lack of playoff experience with them, and yeah, you got most of those guys that Jay's saying. Thompson, well, Yeah, 4 games playoff experience for Logan Thompson. Yeah, he was with Vegas during the run, but he really wasn't playing at all. That was quick as the backup. So you got to wonder about that.
But you also, the difference between them, you got guys like Protas who's come into their own. He's a good young player. He's got over 20 goals. Connor McMichael is a really good young player. Dylan Strome is having, another really good year. He's going to top his year last year, which was a career year. Chikrin running the defense, Carlson, they're a good team. I get the trepidation with it, but I think they're a good team. I don't think they'll fold as easily as you think.
Well, you're tempted to say those are the wagons in the Metro. You look at the Maple Leafs. Do you look at them as a team that can be conquered, or are they going to be a team that you just
no? They could be. I think they could be conquered. I do. I said it. I don't know how much has really changed with the Maple Leafs. I still get that vibe from them where, second round tops.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well,
and then
got Florida.
I think I think the Panthers are still the class. I think the Panthers are going to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals again.
See, I don't think the Lightning are dangerous, by the way. That's a different story on that one. But
they're struggling right now. I think they're 1-4 in their last 5, or 1-4-1. They, every team starts to take their downfall. So we'll see. Right now, they're hanging on to that second wild card spot. But what's good for them, Mark, is that third spot in the Atlantic is still, it's up there for the taking. So
it is. But I think it's a sacrificial lamb to whoever's going to play Florida. That's just me. We'll see about that one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, you want to talk about a paper tiger, Boston right now. Boston seems like.
So you can't call them. They're not even that good. Paper Tigers, a team that's like good on paper. And
I know what you mean.
They're not even that. The Bruins are. They're meshed in there with the Lightning, Rangers, Islanders. They're not. I don't know about them. I don't know about them.
All right. Mr. Hyde saying the leaders are not the leaders. That's the team. That's who the team is. Trocheck is number 1. Forget the others on this team, Well, yeah. But all right, last one, and then we're gonna sign off, guys. What is the rumor that if the Canucks trade Miller and Pettersson, that Quinn Hughes will want out? There is that rumor going around, Anthony, that he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild.
I'll tell you this: if it came to where Quinn Hughes asks for out, you know where he's going.
Yes.
He's going to New Jersey, and he'd play with his brothers. I guarantee you, if it ever came to where the Canucks stripped it down, he's saying, "Send me to New Jersey, and I'm gonna play with my brothers and the 3 of them together."
Well, they're the new Stalls. There you go.
Well, but you remember, I think Jared Stahl, I think he only played for the Hurricanes for like 1 game where they were all in the lineup.
Yeah, they all started on the same line.
Yeah, mostly he was like an ECHL, AHL guy. Like the Hughes brothers, that's a different story. Because now you're talking 3 star players.
Yeah, and first-round draft picks, and I think all top 10 draft picks, if I recall correctly.
And you know what? I know you're itching to get out of here, but the Devils would have the assets to make that deal. Simon Nemeth, they could offer up in that deal. Mercer,
There are those assets. Brad. I don't think it's enough to get Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn Hughes is top 5, if not top 3 defenseman in the league, and that's a lot to ask for out of him. All right, guys. So that's the show for tonight, and it's been great. Like I said, I was like, hey, I don't want to do a 2-hour show, but here we are at 1:58 right now. So this is one reason why I was trying to cut it short. Guys, thanks very much for joining us, guys, today. And we will see you next week. And hopefully, who knows, maybe sooner.
What? Talking about the Devils getting Hughes? I mean, yeah, that would be.
Well, he'd ask to go over there.
That wouldn't be good for any team in the Metropolitan Division. But I'm just saying, I just think, why would he want to go anywhere else? Why if he was going to leave the only place he ever knew, why wouldn't you want to go the player?
Well, depends if he's got no trade protection, he could force it there, Anthony.
He what?
All right, guys, gonna sign off here. Have a great one. Anthony, last word.
I don't want to watch the Super Bowl, but I'm going Eagles. I can't bring myself to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, and being that obviously I'm not a Giants fan, I don't have that natural hate the Eagles in me. I have nothing against them. So let's go Eagles.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think America is rooting for the Eagles right now, which you're never going to hear that ever again. Take care, everybody, and enjoy. Well, it's not the Super Bowl yet. We'll see you soon.